Welcome to CCI Drive Time, the podcast for vended laundry distributors. I'm Steve with CCI, using your drive time to cover laundromat trends, payment systems, and practical topics you can use in the field. Today's a special Inside Track episode featuring Max Marcionetti. Yes, my son. He is our inside sales manager. And so we're going to talk a little shop today, introduce you to him, and talk about a little family business reality. So Max, thanks for joining us. Not that you had an option.
No, thanks for having me. I'm excited. I think I'm one of the first guests on the podcast, so it's an honor to be a guest on here.
Absolutely. You are the first guest and first of many, I hope. And
Sure.
The expectation is that we will have all of our team join us at some point and have you come back and participate in other discussions that I think will be valuable to our distributors and our customers. So I thought we would start, since you joined the company relatively recently. It's been 3 months, more than 3 months. Do you have it, Matt? Do you have it figured out? Is it about 3 months? 4 months?
5 months almost, I think now.
Oh, gosh. All right. Well, then, time flies.
Yeah.
When you have fun. But why don't you give us like the 60-second version of you before you joined CCI?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, been only here for 4 or 5 months now, and I'm pretty new into my professional career. In all honesty, pretty fresh. I graduated college from Illinois State in May of 2024, and I went and moved to Nashville, so away from the family completely, to start my own career and try to learn a little something about business. So I went and worked for Dell Technologies for about a year and a half, did some professional sales division and sales for them, and just kind of got my feet wet with sales. And then about a year and a half after I was at Dell, we went to the Clean Show, and then it kind of prompted us to re-engage in a conversation that we were needing to have anyway about working together, and we officially had that conversation. So that was a little bit before my time here, and just basically out of college, and still kind of getting my feet wet in the professional world and learning a lot every day. So it's been good.
Yeah, I remember that conversation clearly. In fact, if I was to go back in time, an interesting fact I like to throw around is that your first Clean Show was in utero, actually, 24 years ago. It was actually CCI's very first Clean Show in Orlando, if I remember correctly. And Mom was expecting you, so you actually attended very early on, and then you've been to a number of Clean Shows. The first one was in 2019, I think.
The New Orleans, whichever one was in New Orleans. Yeah.
Yeah, and you came as you were a younger fella at that time, and we're more kind of just watching, and then you came 2 years later. And you participated, and you really dove in with both feet. And although you weren't working for us, you pitched in and did a great job. And then you attended this last one here that we just wrapped up in Orlando. And that was when I decided it was time to offer you a position here. So obviously it's something you've been around a long time, the business, the family business. What made you say yes to joining? Anything specific?
Yeah, I think for me, it was really just being actually offered the opportunity to do it. I think I was just kind of waiting for that moment to happen. I always tell the story to anyone that asks, how long have you wanted to do this, and what kind of made you want to do it. And I always tell the story about when I was in kindergarten, and Mom can attest to this, that I said I wanted to work for my dad when I was 5, and it was just a matter of waiting for the opportunity to happen then. I think it really grew after obviously going to that first Clean Show and going through high school then. I think that was the first one was in my high school days, and I kind of got an understanding of what I wanted to do in my life, I think, and then going through college and it continued that. So really just getting offered the opportunity is kind of what made me say yes, because it was just something that I've always wanted to do, and nothing that you or anyone else in our family has ever said you have to do it. Obviously it's attest to that is going and working somewhere else for a year and a half. So I think it was just getting offered the opportunity.
Yeah, that's great. Was there anything in the first couple of months that surprised you once you actually joined the company full time?
Yeah, I think you made a comment to me about this when we were talking about doing this, and you made the very stern point that not everything's like the clean show when you come work full time, because that's my only experience of being in the industry, is really going to this Super Bowl of events, and it's all very exciting and all pretty positive interactions for the most part. So I think the thing that's been most surprising is obviously just like the reality of day-to-day business, and just kind of going through the ups and downs of things are going well, things that you're waiting on someone on, things that you're helping someone with that maybe not be something that you really have full control over, but you got to get the right person to help. So thoughts of that. And then managing all the different projects. So for me, it'd be different deals that you have to handle, keep an eye on, have a sense of what's going on. So I would say that was probably, at Dell, I had plenty of deals to handle, but they weren't as many as this, because there's so many different distributors, so many different laundromats, and we have different products as well. So it's definitely one where it definitely teases your brain and makes it work pretty hard sometimes. So yeah.
Is there anything out of that you maybe feel like you have a little more respect for, since maybe compared to the work you did at Dell, compared to maybe the times you've seen kind of observed maybe from a distance me working in these positions before?
Yeah, I mean, the projects part, and not even like just projects, I wouldn't even say like deals, like the amount of things that you for sure have to think about. I mean, obviously you're kind of the department head for a little bit of everything here, and as I think you like to do, I think you like having your hands in a little bit of everything and having an understanding of what's going on. But I think I have so much respect for trying to keep track of everything, and that takes time of doing it over and over. But being able to manage and handle all the projects at one time, and I think that takes a real skill and a real patience for sure. I mean, that was one of the things we talk about a lot, is having patience in this company, in this job. So I have a lot more respect for the patience and the amount of things you can handle at once. It's very impressive, because the stuff I handle is very low level in comparison to some of the stuff that you have to handle. So it's definitely very impressive.
Yeah, I use the analogy a lot that we have to wear a lot of hats, and those that are able to switch hats quickly are the ones that succeed. And certainly you seem to have dove into that pretty well, and realized that it's not just giving demos and getting people excited about the product, but it's all of the effort that goes before and after the execution of an installation that really makes everything work. The exciting parts, the demos, those are the fun parts, and we live for those days when we get a chance to get someone excited. But the way it happens is all the hard work that gets us to make sure that people get the right stuff, model numbers and all of the details that go into making sure people end up with the right hardware at the end of the day. So that's great. Let's talk a little bit about kind of what your role is. So, we have a sales team that's essentially 3 plus me, if I can include myself in that. We have Paul McCary covering the East Coast, or the Eastern Territory, really cut the country down the middle essentially, and Paul covers the East, and Kenny Smith covers the West, and then we have this inside sales manager role that you take. So why don't you share a little bit, like what is your day-to-day like as an inside sales manager?
Yeah, I think the biggest distinction is between what I do and what Kenny and Paul do is I'm really on the, I would say, front lines of communicating with customers and talking to them about what we have to offer, like our existing customers, that is. I'm sure Paul and Kenny have plenty of customers that are already aware about them, and they reach out to them, but they usually funnel them back to me, because I'm the one who helps handle additional readers, upgrades to their system, questions about their system even, because sometimes they're so, they're on the road and they just need to help them out real quick. So they send them to me to help them out with that. So I think the biggest difference between me and what Kenny and Paul do is Kenny and Paul handle a lot of new business from distributors, incoming, inbound calls. I'll still field them, but I pass it over to the right person to help them kind of proceed with that. So yeah, I think the biggest difference is just I handle a lot of upfront and frontline customer interaction, while Kenny and Paul will handle more distributor. It's still with customer, but handle that distributor relationship mainly, establish a relationship with them.
Yeah, whenever we have somebody that comes on new, I like to distinguish that we really have 2 kinds of customers. Really everybody we interact is a customer, but we have to probably use better vernacular, it's saying that store owners is a customer.
Correct.
And then distributors are also a customer. And we work with both of those. And I think that you said it well in that you do a lot of work dealing directly with store owners because they have a lot of questions. They want to add stuff. They want to know if they can do this, if they can do that. And part of the challenge with there being so many options and so many products and so many things and so many distractions that store owners are dealt with is that they may not be aware of what's available. And I think what you've been focusing on is reaching out to them on a more consistent basis and checking in, see if they need anything, make sure everything is okay, and then share with them if there's something going on, ultimately to hopefully bring an opportunity back to a distributor, which is our other kind of customer, which is the people we sell through, and we're ultimately loyal to the distributor network. With that, how do you interact typically with distributors? So what is your general interaction with the distributors? This is a podcast for distributors. So what is how do you interact with distributors?
Yeah, the main way I interact with them is usually, I wouldn't say it a cold lead because it's usually a warm lead because they already interact with them, but it's sending them basically a lead which includes a quote of what a customer wants to do. And most of the time it's an upgrade that has to do with that. Sometimes you'll see an occasional, hey, they're building a new store and they want a quote for it. So, we'll help with that. But that's really the main interaction you're seeing is folks that need to upgrade. And then some distributors have already kind of learned that that's what I do. And they'll start sending me, the relative, hey, reach out to this person, please, because they want to upgrade their system. And they learn that, which is super great. Right. So, one of the things I'll see a lot is sending them the email and they'll say, hey, great, thanks for sending it over. And then, we'll call or email back and forth about what the upgrade entails and understanding, giving the idea of what this is. Because a lot of stuff we do upgrade wise, especially some of the new stuff we have with Laundry Card, no one has done it before. So they're trying to understand what that looks like. So that's usually the main facet that I'm interacting with them, interacting with distributors in.
Yeah, it's a good description. I've always been concerned. It's actually one of the reasons why I started this podcast for distributors is just it's impossible for them to know everything that they have to know considering all the products that they represent. And we don't help because we continue to innovate new things and offer upgrades. And, and laundry equipment distributors are focused on selling laundry equipment. That should be their first priority. But there is a lot of opportunity with existing store owners that have CCI products that need to upgrade. They need to update them. There's things that we've done to make sure that they are more they're able to be more successful and able to keep up with the tech that's going to help them attract more customers. And if anything, it's important for people to realize and distributors realize that you're there to help take care of all of the nitty gritty details of what the upgrade is, what they need in order to make that upgrade happen. And then ultimately you deliver back to the distributor a kind of a really concise quotation that allows them to make an order, and then we'll take it from there and help them. But you're really an excellent partner for the distributors when it comes to all the add-on components that comes in there. And then of course, you're certainly capable of helping with a new deal opportunity. Cool. All right. Let's talk a little bit more about your interactions with some of these deals, and maybe you can provide some advice about when a distributor sends in an opportunity or has a deal, what details can they provide us early on to make everything just go easier and faster?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question because a lot of distributors do things differently, and the way that they think about things and how they work with different vendors is all different. So that's like, how can you make it as simple as possible? Probably working with any payment provider in reality, this is probably what they would need. I think it always starts with, are they existing customer or are they a new customer? Because if you send us, hey, we need these amount of readers, are they already a customer of ours? Can we go reference, what their account number is, if this is an add-on or is this a new system? Like we need some really basic stuff like that. Model numbers are, I know, the most tedious thing to go gather, but we do need those at some point. And I like doing it before we even send a quote over usually, because then we can confirm all this stuff and don't have to go back and forth. And I know it's even more tedious because sometimes the model numbers we get from people aren't like full enough for us to kind of fulfill what we know. And that always come, and I'm sure maybe distributors already know this, but it's really making sure that when a customer gets what they're expecting, it actually is going to deliver on what we told them it's going to do. That's the only place it comes from. It's not to cause more emails back and forth. It's really feeling confident in like what we're giving them as a vendor. And it's also to protect you as a distributor to not have to go back there and do a bunch of work on it and say, well, hey, you told me it was going to do this and it doesn't do this. We ask for those things because it saves everyone in this case to understand what the product's supposed to do on the machine that you have. So model numbers are super important. And then I would always say timeline too, I think is one that I think a lot of folks leave out is, when are they expecting this to be done? Because every time I don't think I've gotten a single request yet that gives me an idea of when they're looking to do it by. And not that it's that big of a deal, but I think sometimes things end up getting super rushed because we don't understand when it needs to get done by. And there is an expectation as lead time, hey, what's the lead time? This is what it is. And sometimes you got to push a little bit, harder than you think you actually do. So I always recommend giving timeline to and when they need it done by, because then you can properly set expectations. And I think that's where sometimes there's some misthought on what else to add. It would be a time frame on when stuff needs to be done.
Okay. Yeah. Thinking about model numbers, and one of the things that I think we all take for granted from the manufacturer's perspective, the washer and dryer manufacturer, is that they sometimes have pet names for certain machines. They have, marketing names, and so that can get things confused. We can get confused by what is needed. We don't want the pet name. We don't want the market name. We need the full model number. And sometimes it's the 9th digit in the model number that tells us something important about whether or not they need this harness, this bracket, or that bracket. And so getting that complete model number just speeds things along. And once we get through that, things get easier. So tell me where you think you add the most value when it comes to working with these deals. What do you want the distributors to lean on you for?
Yeah, I think the way I would want them to lead on me for is definitely for if they're in communicating with an existing CCI customer, get me in on a conversation, ask them, ask me what do you think they need, or what are new things that they might need. I think I have a lot of value in qualifying what someone needs and what someone doesn't need as far as an upgrade perspective. Because this is all I've done for 5 months, so I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of what the path for someone would be depending on where they're at, and explaining it in a way that gets them to understand this is kind of where it's going, and how even though it is a reinvestment in their product, how this is going to open up doors for them in a year from now when this thing is going to be available, and this is what people are going to be expecting as a retail customer. So I think as a qualification standpoint, I think getting an understanding of what someone will need and asking the questions that are necessary to make sure that they get what they want. I think I bring a lot of value in that. And then I think the best thing I do is also follow up as well, and just being someone who follows up with most distributors or deals. No more than 2 weeks goes by without me saying, hey, any updates on this? And I know that this business runs slow sometimes and there's not a whole lot of movement, but it's more or less for me to check that box and say, hey, I've connected with, or try to connect with that distributor and say, hey, where are we at with this? Especially if it's something I brought to them, I definitely try to lead that follow up. And if it's something that they bring to me and I know they got it taken care of because it's on the top of their mind, of course. So I would say those two areas are ones that I think I bring the most value in, just because I pride myself on making sure a customer gets what they expect, or retail customer is a store owner, and then as far as following up and making sure we're not missing anything. Yeah,
I would add to that the pre-qualifications to make something happen. So there is a number of upgrade opportunities available. There's a lot of new ones coming with laundry card very soon that everyone's going to hear more and more from us on. And there's a lot of pre-qualifications. The systems, they have to be kind of up to a certain level. They have to have certain hardware in place. And there's no way we would expect most distributors to really remember all of those layers. So I would say they should lean on you to hammer out all of the pre-qualification questions and get that all on the table up front, so that someone that's interested in doing some kind of update or upgrade knows that all of the pre-qualifications are met. So I would add that on as well. All right, good. I would say probably the other thing is to let you quote. Let them, that don't just
Absolutely.
ask for a list of parts. Yeah.
That's a great point, because there's instances where our price books do change, within maybe every quarter or every 6 months, something changes. We're happy to send price books, but I always say let us quote stuff, because you're going to get the most up-to-date price. Like, we don't have to remember if we sent it to you or not. It's not because we don't want to share with you what the price is. It's just that there's not enough of us salespeople to remember all the distributors we've sent these price books to. Some of them do a lot of business with us. Some of them don't do a whole lot of business with us. So you just if you rely on us to do it, you're going to get the most accurate price and the most accurate what is needed. And since we change things sometimes, they're not going to be missing something like the certain satellite configuration we have. I know there's a newer one that came out. So, it's let us do that stuff, because we're not going to forget that stuff. And not that you would, but if you haven't quoted before, you're not going to know what to expect as far as what is needed hardware-wise.
Lean on us who should know the right answers to prepare the right solution. So, that's good. All right, let's talk a little bit about family and family business. And, I think one of the interesting parts about a lot of distributors out there is that there are a lot of family owned and operated businesses, and we're one of them. And so I thought maybe it'd be interesting for the people listening would kind of see what our dynamics are like, and kind of hear your perspective as being basically third generation in our laundry business. And, maybe my first question is, what's the hardest part about being the boss's son in a business like this? Anything that's come up yet?
Yeah, no, I mean, luckily, as far as CCI related things, nothing's come up. Luckily, all your employees, I think, have interacted with me at a certain point for the most part before I actually came on full time. And I think Clean Show always is a great example of what they would expect if I was to work full time. So I think there's never been this thought that everything's gifted, everything is super easy. To be honest, I think the position you put me in really has taught me it's not it's a lot of work that is not easy, or not anyone wants to do really bad either. It's stuff that you have to kind of push yourself to do every day and find different ways of motivating yourself. So I think internally, I think there's been no issues. I think people understand what our family work ethic is and what we try to do. I think from a talking to distributors, talking to store owner perspective, I don't think the challenge is a weird way to put it, because I think it's more or less they have not an expectation, but I want them to create their own thought about myself and who I am based on interacting with me, not just because I have the same last name as you or grandpa in this case, right? Or Uncle Andy in that case, right? I think I'm going to be obviously professional and do what we're always, what we're taught to do as a family business, but make your own assumption about who I am, because I'm unique, and everything you do is really unique to you, and I'll do stuff that's unique to me that complements each other, right? So I would say, that's a challenge, because I think a lot of people have this expectation that, he's got to know everything because he's, Steve's son. I'm I don't know everything quite yet. It's been 5 months. I got to ask him a lot of questions. So that's maybe one challenge, is just there's an expectation maybe that I have all the knowledge, and it's just I haven't been around long enough. I know I've been around the industry a long time technically, but not to the level of understanding how everything in every single situation works. Yeah, every nuance.
Yeah, I'll say that although that's probably a challenge for you, it's also kind of been helpful. It's actually it's good to hear from my perspective. I haven't heard you mention that much offline, but because that means that there'll be a time when you will know all of these things, and they'll be asking you instead of asking me every time, and I'll be able to. We will be able to get back to people faster and more efficiently, and so the fact that they trust to present you with all of the same things that they would present to me is good. So I don't think we're asking anybody to be discouraged to ask these kinds of things.
No, not at all.
But certainly we can't forget that your time with us has been fairly limited so far. Right. So what would you say is what you need to do, or what is it? What are the things you do to make sure that you are earning trust with the distributors and maybe even with the people internally here? Are there things that you're doing to make sure that that you're getting the trust you deserve?
Yeah, I think internally it's just a matter of presenting all the information that I possibly can and not making it hard for them to go find stuff and making them do a lot of work. I probably do a little bit more work than I need to get them the information, or maybe do a few extra steps that someone else can do. I do it because I can do it right now and it's not a problem. I think as far as distributor wise and earning that trust, speed is what I'll say. And what I mean by that is responding to them in a very, very, very timely manner. If I see the email and I can get to it, I'm going to handle it right in that moment. I'm not going to let it sit there for 4 hours and get back to it maybe the next day. I don't know what about it. I don't know if it was instilled in me as a kid. I just can't let something sit for like a day and not have anyone respond. Like if it's sitting in my inbox and I don't respond to it, right. I'm going to go get a hold of someone that can help. I think that's just being respectful in what my professional definition of what that looks like. So if your distributor interacts with me, you probably could attest to that. I get back to you within 2 hours, probably at the most, and that's if I'm busy doing other things. If I see it, I can get back to you right away. I'm gonna get back to you right away. So that's where I try to earn that trust is speed and understanding that your time is valuable and we value your business. So we're gonna take care of you as soon as we can.
Yeah, I've seen you be very responsive in that way, and so I think that probably is somewhat in the DNA, because I feel the same way. I can't have something in my inbox too long. I've got to get to it, or it burns a hole in my mind for a while. Again, I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of distributors that are also family run, and maybe some of them haven't had their kids join the company yet. Maybe it's something they think will happen at some point. Since we're in the early stage of this, do you have any advice you might give, or related to like expectations and communication that you might think would be good to think about in advance?
Yeah, I think the best way I can start is definitely anyone could do whatever they want to do, but I'd recommend having them go work somewhere else for a period of time. Like I know that was something that we kind of explicitly said before we do this, but it wasn't like a plan. It was just kind of like, hey, you should probably go do something else, and then we'll figure out kind of from there. It's very loose. That's how we do it. It's not very structured in that case. Like you're going to work here for 2 years and then you're going to come here. Like it was not. It was just go find somewhere you want to work and live, and then we'll figure it out later. I think it just gives you such a perspective of like what it is to work in a family business. Since I worked in a corporate America, if you want to call it, for a year and a half. It's not a very long time, but it really gives you a perspective on working there comparatively to working to a family business. That you go from Dell Technologies that has 10,000 employees, and you go to here we have 35 employees at most, right? It's like, it's such a small company, and you actually have a appreciation and respect for what you got to do every day, and that it's not going anywhere, but you're also the driving force to keep it moving where you want it to go, and you got to do these things to keep it moving. So I'd recommend doing that. And then as far as communication, I mean, that's obviously just based on the situation. I mean, before I worked with you specifically, we talked about work all the time because I'm interested in it, and now that and we talked a lot obviously about personal stuff outside of work before I worked here, and I think we probably have some work to do with talking more about personal life outside of work now that I work with you, because we talk every day now, and it's one of those things where I joked with my fiance about, I think I talk to you every day and don't mention like, oh, what'd you do today? Like I kind of already know what you're doing every day, right? So at the end of the week, I don't really have any questions about what you did this week, because I'm kind of there for most of it. So definitely trying to get better about interacting and understanding what else is going on other than work. But it's hard because we care. I think we both care about it, probably similar levels. There's only so much I can do and so much you can do in that case. So I would say just keep communicating and try to find time to break up between the two things, because it's not easy, but obviously the care is there for both things, personal and work.
Yeah, I'll echo that. I think we both really like the work we're doing. We like the product that we offer. We like the impact it has on the people that purchase it, and so it's something that is interesting to talk about. There's so many dynamics, there's so many characters, there's so many different people out there, and it's been fun to kind of share with you my past experiences with some of the folks out there and getting there. So I think having a separate personal life shouldn't be replaced by business, but if you like what you do, it doesn't have to necessarily be ignored either. So I think that's kind of the roles and that we've played as far as our communication is more frequent, but maybe less summarizing like we had in the past when you were working at Dell.
Yeah, we don't go as much into the details like we used to when I was somewhere else. Like now we kind of understand what it is, so it's not as detailed. Exactly.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. Well, so we're going to kind of get things to the end here. One of the things I want to do is to maybe do like a little bit of a little lightning round of like what your thoughts are on a couple of things. One of them is, what's one thing you think distributors overcomplicate?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think the overcomplication is probably. I think they overcomplicate the fact that like they can rely on us a little bit more than they think they can. Like I think they feel like they have to do a lot more than they actually do, if that makes sense. For like working with CCI, I guess specifically, right? Like I can't speak for every other payment provider out there, but you can give us a lot of the information that you have, how many machines, model number, and we'll take it and do whatever you need us to do. Like it's not like you have to have this full on, oh, they're gonna, here's all the specific, here's how many machines, like you could be very basic with us and we'll figure it out. Obviously machine model numbers are important, but like you can give us a lot of just general information, do you want to take credit cards, whatever, and we'll be able to get you in the right spot. We may have questions in return, but you can give us some pretty basic stuff and we can rely on us, is what I'm saying. Don't overcomplicate, try to do everything yourself because you have so much on your plate. So just rely on us to do stuff for you. That's not a problem at all.
Yep, that's a good one. Anything that you think distributors under communicate, and I think we've talked about this one already. So what do they under communicate?
Yeah, it's just, model numbers probably for sure. And a timeline. I mean, I think I can't hit on timeline enough. And maybe they don't know what the timeline is, and then it just so happens they put the PO in and they're expecting it to be in 3 weeks. I saw something on Facebook saying it was a laundry owner that was kind of asking, is it normal for card systems, payment systems to take, 3 to 4, 6 weeks maybe to get to them to set up? And there was a bunch of people that commented, hey, that is normal. It doesn't matter who you work with. That's just kind of the normal standard. And it made me think, I've never seen someone ask me, hey, we need to get this ordered by, this point. We need it installed by a certain time, but it's not like, hey, can we get this ordered? Because we can give you when it needs to be ordered by. We could say, hey, you need to order it by, in 3 weeks from now to get it to you in 2 months or whatever it is, right? So communicate that, because I think that owner would appreciate the transparency. Because we do everything we can, but I think everyone understands that all of these payment providers are pretty much small businesses. So we're not Amazon. We can't ship it next day. So give us a timeline and we'll meet it the best we can. And we usually can hit the timeline no matter if you give it to us. I mean, you got to be communicative about that. That's not a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's good. I think I saw that same post, and I was actually pleasantly surprised how many other store owners kind of came to the same conclusion, like, yeah, that is normal. But it also tells you that the perception was not set correct. They had a perception, it wasn't properly set up front. So, maybe some advice for the distributors that are listening is that it's important to ask us what the timeline is, or tell us what the timeline is, but also set the expectation appropriately with the store owner, because they may be thinking on Amazon type terms. Like you said, very few people can deliver as quickly as they can. And, that's not the reality that, the rest of the world lives in. So yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it's okay. We'll start working on the Amazon fulfillment portion of our business as soon as we can get there. We'll work on it.
That's
there next day, hopefully.
All right, one more. How about any like single, or maybe single is probably a hard word. What's a good qualifying question that you'll run by a distributor to help kind of determine what it is they need?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's the one that started our business 25 years ago, but it's do they want to take coins or not? Do they want to take quarters or not? I mean, I think that's all it takes. It's the easiest one to ask. It's the one that people, owners probably, they go back and forth on it, especially new owners that acquire a store and they're going to redo the whole thing. We talked to someone at a show we went to last week who was like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I know my customers would like it. And the distributor was like, giving them an advice on how to handle it. So I would say if you're a distributor, ask that question and then go to the system that does that product really well, and you have a good understanding of what that is. And I would recommend you looking into all the other ones too, and understanding where the value is, because if there's something about not taking coins that really is valuable to them, then go find the product that really dives into that a lot. Or if they want to take coins, find the product that really leverages the things that owner is looking for. So use that as a qualifying question, because I think it unveils a lot of what that person views their business as and how they want to run their business. It's not about what the payment is, it's just how they want to run it, and how involved and how they want to be involved in their business and how they want to run. So
yeah, I'll add on. I mean, it's not a judgment when they make a decision, but I think you're right. There's so many owners that maybe are following all these different Facebook groups and other things, and they're like, oh, I need to up my payment game. I got to do something. They're at least reaching out because they want to do something other than quarters, and doesn't mean eliminating quarters, but do they still want to take quarters? And that has a huge impact on the direction that we might go as far as getting the store owner the right product. And if they don't have an answer to that question in the early stages, then it's going to be a lot of back and forth. And I think we're going to end up putting store owners in this kind of analysis by paralysis. They're not going to know they don't know what they want, so they don't have any ability to choose something. And so having the distributor ask that qualifying question up front, and being prepared to walk them through the pros and cons, or having you help them, or any of us help them through the pros and cons of keeping quarters, will really help us get them to the product that's going to make the most sense for them. So that's good. That's a good one. Well, that's great. I think we did a good job today. Your first interview, and I think it went well. I think we've offered some insights into our company, into the sales role. And I think if there's anything that I just want to make sure everybody listening remembers, is that we have this inside sales team. We have Max here to really be your right hand when it comes to things CCI. And although there are a ton of things to remember, you don't have to remember them. You just have to remember Max. You have to remember Max's number, his email, and get him involved in an opportunity so that he can take some work off of you and follow through, and then you can deliver the quote once it's all kind of figured out, and feel confident that everything has been checked, all the boxes have been checked, and the customer is going to get what they need. So I think we're going to close it out here. Max, thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll definitely have you back on soon. And everyone else out there, we'll see you next time.